The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched for miles in every direction. Thousands of alien beings filled the massive space, their voices creating a buzz of different languages and sounds. Some looked like giant insects with clicking mandibles. Others appeared as floating jellyfish with glowing tentacles. A few resembled walking crystals that chimed when they moved. Out at the center of the hall stood a tall, thin creature with purple skin and forearms. This was Commander Zeth Kara of the Velinari Empire, one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. His yellow eyes gleamed with confidence as he activated a holographic display above the crowd. "Fellow council members," Zeth Kara announced, his voice carrying across the enormous room. "Today I bring you news of another primitive world that requires our guidance." The hologram showed a small blue planet spinning slowly in space. White clouds swirled around its surface, and one small gray moon orbited nearby. To the aliens watching, it looked unremarkable and weak. "This world calls itself Earth," Zeth Kara continued with obvious disgust in his voice. "Our scouts have been watching these creatures for several years. They are pathetic beyond belief." A creature that looked like a walking tree raised one of its branch-like arms. "What makes them so primitive, Commander?" Zeth Kara smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "They still burn fossil fuels for energy. They fight wars over resources that are abundant throughout the galaxy. Most amusing of all, they have only managed to put a few small bases on their moon and nearby planets." Laughter erupted throughout the hall. Some aliens clicked their claws together. Others made buzzing sounds. That passed for chuckling in their species. A few crystal beings chimed in harmony, creating an eerie musical laugh. High Chancellor Morden of the crystalline hegemony floated forward. His body was made of living diamond that reflected light in rainbow patterns. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Commander Zeth Kara, surely you jest. Are you telling us that these Earth creatures cannot even travel between star systems?" "That is correct, High Chancellor. They are trapped in their own solar system, like insects in a jar. Their fastest ships take months to reach their outer planets. They would need thousands of years to reach even the nearest star." More laughter filled the hall. A slug-like creature with dozens of eyes spoke up. "What about their military capabilities? Do they pose any threat?" Zeth Kara's hologram changed to show images of human military equipment. Tanks rolled across battlefields. Jets flew through the sky. Ships sailed across oceans. To the advanced aliens, these machines looked like toys. "They still use explosive chemicals to propel their weapons," Zeth Kara explained. "Their strongest bombs are nuclear devices that would barely scratch the hull of our smallest scout ship. They have no energy shields, no plasma weapons, and no faster-than-light communication." An insect-like alien with giant compound eyes buzzed forward. "What about their population? Are they numerous enough to provide adequate labor?" "Nearly 8 billion of them," Zeth Kara replied. "More than enough to work our mining operations and serve in our factories. They reproduce quickly and appear to be hardy enough to survive in various environments." High Chancellor Morden's crystalline form sparkled with approval. "Excellent. Another species ripe for incorporation into our workforce. How long since they developed space travel?" "Only about 70 years since their first orbital flight," Zeth Kara answered. "They are still in their technological infancy. Our ancestors had already conquered dozens of worlds when they were at this stage of development." The council members murmured their agreement. To them, humanity appeared to be just another backward species that would soon serve the greater galactic community. They had seen hundreds of worlds like Earth. The pattern was always the same. Find a primitive world, demonstrate superior technology, and the inhabitants would surrender without a fight. "I propose we send the standard subjugation fleet," Zeth Kara announced. 200 ships should be more than sufficient to convince these humans to accept our rule." An elderly alien that resembled a walking octopus raised several tentacles. "Commander, is such a large fleet necessary? Surely a dozen ships would be enough for such primitives." Seth Kara's 4 arms spread wide in a gesture of mock generosity. "Better to overwhelm them completely. We want them to understand immediately that resistance is futile. A show of massive force will prevent any foolish attempts at fighting back." The Council voted quickly. The decision was unanimous. Earth would be conquered, and its population put to work serving the galactic community. It was, in their minds, the natural order of things. Advanced civilizations had the right to rule over. Primitive ones. As the meeting concluded, the aliens began discussing which industries would benefit most from human labor. Some wanted workers for their asteroid mining operations. Others needed servants for their luxury worlds. A few suggested using humans as soldiers in their ongoing territorial disputes. None of them bothered to question their intelligence reports. None of them wondered why a species that had developed space travel in only 70 years might be advancing faster than expected. None of them considered that humans might be more resourceful than they appeared. Far away from the council chamber, on a small moon orbiting Earth, Captain Jake Morrison watched the alien fleet's approach on his monitoring screens. His weathered face showed no emotion as he studied the massive force heading toward his home world. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Parker, he called to his second-in-command. "Signal Central Command. Tell them the fish have taken the bait." Lisa's fingers flew across her control panel. "Message sent, sir. General Frank Williams acknowledges. He says to tell you that the Leviathan is ready to surface on your command." Jake nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving the approaching alien fleet. "Good. Let them come. Let them think we're helpless primitives who will surrender without a fight. They're about to learn that humans don't give up easily." The alien fleet continued its approach, confident in their superiority and completely unaware that they were walking into a trap that had been centuries in the making. 3 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a place that appeared on no government maps, Dr. Amy Chun walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls were made of a metal that gleamed like silver, but was stronger than any material found on Earth's surface. Lights embedded in the ceiling cast a warm glow that made the underground facility feel alive. Amy had been working in this secret base for 15 years, ever since she graduated from MIT with degrees in physics and engineering. Like everyone else who worked here, she had sworn an oath never to reveal what she did or where she worked. The world above thought she was just another research scientist working on clean energy projects. "Status report on the Leviathan," Amy called out as she entered the main control room. The chamber was enormous, with curved walls covered in screens showing thousands of different readouts. Dozens of technicians sat at control stations, monitoring systems that most humans didn't even know existed. Chief Engineer Rick Davis looked up from his workstation. His hands moved quickly across holographic displays that showed the internal workings of humanity's greatest achievement. Rick had been working on the Leviathan project longer than anyone else. He remembered when it was just drawings on paper and wild dreams of what might be possible. "All systems are green, Doctor," Rick reported. "The quantum drives are stable and running at optimal efficiency. The defensive matrices are online and responding perfectly. The fabrication bays are fully stocked with raw materials. She's ready for launch whenever you give the word." Amy walked to the observation deck that looked out into the massive underwater shipyard. What she saw there would have shocked every alien in the Galactic Council. The Leviathan stretched for miles in every direction, its hull dark and sleek like the skin of some enormous sea creature. The ship was so large that it had its own weather patterns inside the hangar bays. "How many smaller vessels can she carry?" Amy asked, though she already knew the answer. She liked to hear the numbers spoken aloud because they still amazed her. 10,000 combat ships of various sizes, Rick replied with obvious pride, plus support vessels, research ships, and enough landing craft to put an entire army on any planet in the galaxy. The crew quarters can house 500,000 people comfortably, with room for twice that number in emergency situations. Amy nodded as she watched thousands of workers moving across the Leviathan's hull like ants on a log. They were installing the final weapon systems and running last-minute checks on the ship's countless systems. Every person working on the project knew that Earth's survival might depend on their work. "What about the smaller ships?" Amy asked. "Are they ready for combat?" Rick pulled up another display showing the interior of the Leviathan's hangar bays. Row after row of sleek fighters filled the enormous spaces. Each one was equipped with weapons and defensive systems that surpassed anything the aliens had ever seen. The Viper-class fighters are equipped with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes, Rick explained. Their armor can withstand direct hits from energy weapons that would vaporize mountains. The Falcon-class destroyers carry enough firepower to level entire cities, and their shields can deflect attacks that would destroy space stations. Amy smiled as she remembered the early days of the project. Back then, humanity had just detected the first signs of alien civilization. Radio signals from distant stars had revealed that Earth was not alone in the universe. More importantly, those signals had shown that some alien species were far more advanced than humans. "Do you remember what General Williams said when we first proposed this project?" Amy asked. Rick chuckled. "He said we were crazy for thinking we could build a ship this size in secret. He thought it would take 1,000 years and bankrupt every nation on Earth. And now he calls it the greatest achievement in human history. Though I still think he's not entirely sure we didn't break several laws of physics to make it work." Amy activated her communication system and connected to Luna Base, where Captain Jake Morrison was tracking the approaching alien fleet. His face appeared on her screen, looking calm despite the massive threat heading toward Earth. "Jake, we're ready on our end," Amy reported. "The Leviathan can support a full-scale fleet action for months without resupply. Are you sure about revealing ourselves like this?" Jake's expression grew serious. "Amy, these aliens think we're primitive creatures who will surrender without a fight. They've already decided to conquer us and use us as slaves. They're not coming here to negotiate or trade. They're coming to take our world." Amy understood. For decades, humanity had been intercepting alien communications. They had learned about the Galactic Council and their standard operating procedures. When a species was deemed primitive, they were given a simple choice: surrender and serve, or be destroyed. The aliens have conquered hundreds of worlds using the same tactics, Jake continued. They arrive with overwhelming force, demonstrate their superior technology, and demand submission. Species that fight back are wiped out completely. "But we're not going to surrender," Amy said. It wasn't a question. "No, we're not. And we're not going to let them destroy us either. When they see the Leviathan, they'll realize that humanity is not the primitive species they thought we were." Amy looked out at the massive ship again. Every human working on the project knew that their lives and the lives of everyone on Earth depended on their success. The Leviathan represented more than just advanced technology. It represented humanity's refusal to accept defeat. "The fabrication systems are interesting," Rick added. "Even if we lose ships in battle, the Leviathan can build replacements using raw materials from asteroids or planets. We could fight a war that lasts for years without running out of vessels." Amy nodded. The ship's ability to build new equipment was one of its most important features. Human engineers had designed it to be completely self-sufficient, capable of repairing itself and constructing new ships, even in the middle of a battle. "What about the crew?" Amy asked. "Are they ready for what's coming?" Every person on this ship volunteered for this mission, Rick replied. They all know the risks. They've all trained for years for this moment. Most importantly, they all believe in what we're doing. Amy felt a surge of pride as she thought about the men and women who would crew the Leviathan. They came from every nation on Earth, representing the best and brightest of humanity. They were scientists, engineers, pilots, and soldiers who had dedicated their lives to protecting their home world. The aliens are going to be shocked, Amy said with a smile. They think they're dealing with a species that barely knows how to leave their own planet. Instead, they're going to find humans who have been preparing for this moment for decades. Jake's voice came through the communication system again. Amy, we're getting reports that the alien fleet will reach Earth's orbit in 60 hours. It's time to begin final preparations. Amy took a deep breath and activated the facility's general communication system. Her voice echoed through every corridor and chamber in the underwater base. Attention all personnel. This is Dr. Amy Chun. Operation Revelation will begin in 60 hours. All departments report final readiness status. This is not a drill. The moment we have been preparing for has arrived. Throughout the massive facility, thousands of people began the final preparations that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system like a pack of hunting wolves. 200 warships materialized in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with energy shields and advanced armor. Each ship was larger than anything humans had ever built, or so the aliens believed. Fleet Admiral Krickstall stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator. His species looked like a cross between a shark and a lizard, with gray skin covered in scales and teeth that could bite through steel. He had conquered 47 worlds in his career, and Earth would be number 48. Excellent position, Navigator, Krickstall said as he studied the primitive solar system spread out before him. We have a clear path to the third planet. Begin scanning for defensive installations and military assets. The Navigator, a smaller member of Krickstall's species, worked quickly at his control station. Admiral, I'm detecting minimal activity. There appears to be a small base on the planet's moon and a few satellites in orbit. No sign of any significant military presence. Krickstall's mouth curved in what passed for a smile among his kind. As expected, these primitives probably don't even know we're here yet. What about their technology level? Scans confirm the intelligence reports, Admiral. They're still using chemical rockets and basic electronics. I'm not detecting any energy weapons, plasma shields, or faster-than-light communication systems. Another officer, this one resembling a giant mantis with razor-sharp claws, approached the Admiral. Sir, should we send the standard warning message? Most species surrender immediately when they see the size of our fleet. Krickstall considered this. No, Captain Vexron. Let's give them a more direct demonstration of our capabilities. Destroy their moon base and one of their major cities. The survivors will be more cooperative after they see what happens to those who might resist. The alien fleet began moving toward Earth, their engines creating ripples in space-time that could be detected by human sensors. On Luna Base, Captain Jake Morrison watched the approaching vessels with the calm expression of a man who had been expecting this moment for years. Lisa, are you recording all of this? Every ship, every weapon signature, every communication they've sent. The intelligence teams back on Earth are going to love this data. Jake smiled. Good. The more we know about their capabilities, the better we can plan our response. What's their estimated arrival time? 18 hours until they reach Earth's orbit, sir. They're not in any hurry. They probably think we can't even detect them yet. Jake activated his communication system and connected to the secret facility. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Amy Chun's face appeared on his screen looking calm and confident. Amy, our guests are arriving right on schedule. Are you ready to give them a proper welcome? The Leviathan is fully prepared, Jake. All systems are green, and the crew is at battle stations. We're just waiting for your signal. Jake nodded and switched to another communication channel. General Williams, this is Luna Base. The alien fleet is 18 hours out. Request permission to activate Operation Revelation. General Frank Williams' voice came through clearly from Earth's military command center. Permission granted, Captain. Show these aliens what happens when they underestimate humanity. As the alien fleet continued its approach, they began detecting what appeared to be a small human defensive force. A few dozen ships moved out from Earth's orbit, looking like they were made from salvaged materials and spare parts. To the aliens, they looked pathetic. Admiral, Captain Vexron reported, the humans are sending ships to intercept us. 37 vessels of various sizes. They appear to be armed with primitive kinetic weapons and basic missiles. Crickstoll laughed, a sound like grinding glass. 37 ships against our 200? Either these humans are incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Probably both. The alien fleet easily outnumbered the human ships, and their technology was supposedly far superior. Every alien officer on every ship expected this to be the shortest battle in galactic history. Admiral, the communications officer announced, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. They're demanding that we leave their system immediately. Put it on speakers, Crickstoll ordered. Let's hear what these primitives have to say. A human voice filled the bridge of the Dominator. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Terran Defense Force. You have entered our system without permission and with obvious hostile intent. Turn around and leave immediately, or face the consequences. The alien bridge crew erupted in laughter. The idea that these primitive humans would threaten a fleet of 200 advanced warships was too ridiculous to take seriously. Captain Morrison, Crickstoll replied, I am Fleet Admiral Crickstoll of the Galactic Council. We are here to bring your species into the galactic community. Surrender now, and your people will be treated well. Resist, and we will demonstrate why resistance is futile. Jake's voice came back immediately. Admiral, I'm afraid you've made a serious mistake. You assume we're primitive, because that's what we wanted you to think. You're about to learn that humans don't surrender easily. Crickstoll's expression grew serious. Captain Morrison, you have 37 ships. We have 200. Our weapons can destroy planets. Our shields can withstand attacks that would vaporize your entire fleet. Don't throw away the lives of your crews for nothing. Admiral, Jake replied, you're right about one thing. This battle is going to be over quickly. But you're wrong about who's going to win. The alien admiral was beginning to feel annoyed. These humans were either incredibly brave or completely insane. Either way, they would learn their lessons soon enough. All ships, Crickstoll broadcast to his fleet, prepare for battle. Target the human vessels and destroy them. Try to leave a few survivors so they can tell their leaders what happened here. The alien fleet began charging their weapons, massive energy cannons that could punch through the hulls of most ships with a single shot. Their defensive shields flared to life, creating bubbles of energy around each vessel they could deflect. Incoming attacks. But Jake Morrison was not worried. His small fleet of ships was not meant to defeat the alien fleet. They were meant to keep the aliens focused on the wrong target, while the real surprise prepared to reveal itself. All human ships, Jake broadcast, maintain current positions. Remember, our job is to keep their attention. The real fight is about to begin. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Amy Chun stood in the control room of the secret facility. Around her, thousands of technicians made final preparations for the moment that would change everything. Begin surface procedures, Amy announced. It's time to show these aliens what humanity is really capable of. The ocean above the facility began to churn and boil as something enormous prepared to rise from the depths. The Leviathan, humanity's greatest achievement, was about to reveal itself to the galaxy. Admiral Quickstall was focused on the pathetic human fleet in front of him, completely unaware that the real threat was rising from the planet's surface far below. In a few minutes, he would understand that humanity was not the primitive species he had expected to find. The battle for Earth's freedom was about to begin, and the aliens had no idea what they were really facing. The Pacific Ocean had been calm for hours, its surface reflecting the morning sun like a giant mirror. Ships passing through the area reported normal conditions, completely unaware that 3 miles beneath them, the greatest secret in human history was about to be revealed. Dr. Amy Chun stood in the control room of the underwater facility, her hands steady on the activation controls. Around her, hundreds of technicians monitored their stations with the focus of people who knew that Earth's survival depended on their work. All departments report ready status, Amy announced into her communication system. Engineering ready, came the first response. Navigation ready. Weapons systems ready. Life support ready. All hangar bays ready for launch. Amy took a deep breath and activated the facility's main communication system. Attention all personnel. This is Dr. Amy Chun. We are beginning surface operations. All hands to stations. This is not a drill. High above, the ocean began to change. What started as small ripples quickly became massive waves that rolled outward in all directions. The water started to bubble and foam as if it were boiling. Sea creatures fled in terror as something unimaginably large began to rise from the depths. On Luna Base, Captain Jake Morrison watched his screens as the alien fleet prepared to attack his small force of ships. His crews were ready to fight, but they all knew their real job was to keep the aliens distracted for just a few more minutes. Sir, Lieutenant Commander Lisa Parker reported, Dr. Chun signals that the Leviathan is beginning to surface. Estimated time to full emergence is 8 minutes. Jake nodded and opened a communication channel to his fleet. All ships, hold your positions. The cavalry is coming. Meanwhile, aboard the alien flagship Dominator, Fleet Admiral Krickstahl was growing impatient with the human delay tactics. His fleet was in perfect position to destroy the pathetic human ships, but he wanted to savor the moment. Admiral, his sensor operator called out, I'm detecting unusual seismic activity on the planet's surface. The readings are coming from their largest ocean. Krickstahl barely looked up from his tactical display. Probably an underwater earthquake. These primitive worlds are always having natural disasters. Focus on the human fleet. But the sensor operators. Readings were becoming impossible to ignore. Sir, the energy signatures are enormous. Whatever is happening down there is generating more power than some of our smaller ships. Captain Vexron, a mantis-like alien, approached the Admiral with growing concern. Admiral, perhaps we should investigate these readings. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases. Krickstahl finally looked at the sensor displays, and his expression changed from confidence to confusion. What am I looking at? These readings suggest something massive is moving beneath the ocean surface. The alien fleet's sensors were among the most advanced in the galaxy, capable of detecting objects across vast distances of space. But what they were seeing beneath Earth's ocean didn't match anything in their extensive databases of known technology. Admiral, his sensor operator announced, his voice filled with disbelief. Something is breaking the surface. The object is ... It's enormous. On the main display screen, the aliens watched in stunned silence as the Leviathan began to emerge. From the Pacific Ocean, water cascaded from its hull like 1,000 waterfalls as the massive ship rose higher and higher. Its dark metal surface gleamed with advanced armor plating that seemed to absorb and reflect light in impossible ways. "That's not possible," Captain Vexron whispered. "The size readings must be wrong. No ship can be that large." But the readings were correct. The Leviathan continued to rise, revealing more and more its incredible bulk. The ship was so large that it had its own gravity field, pulling water and debris toward its hull as it emerged. Its length measured in miles, not meters, and its width was nearly as impressive. Admiral Krickstall stared at the display screen with his mouth hanging open. In his long career, he had seen the greatest ships ever built by the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. None of them compared to what was rising from Earth's ocean. How is this possible? He asked, but no one on his bridge had an answer. The Leviathan's emergence was visible from space as it continued rising, its massive form creating its own weather patterns as it displaced enormous amounts of water. The ship's hull was covered in weapons systems that the aliens had never seen before, and energy readings suggested defensive capabilities that surpassed their own technology. Dr. Karemi Chan's voice suddenly filled the communication channels of every ship in the alien fleet. Her tone was calm and professional, but her words carried the weight of absolute confidence. "Attention, alien fleet. This is Dr. Amy Chun of the Terran Defense Force. You have entered our system with hostile intent against a peaceful world. We strongly advise you to reconsider your course of action." Admiral Krickstall tried to speak, but no words came out. The primitive humans, who were supposed to surrender without a fight, had just revealed a ship that dwarfed his entire fleet. "Admiral," his weapons officer reported, "I'm scanning the human ship's defensive systems. The energy signatures are incredible. Their shields appear to be more powerful than our entire fleet combined. What about weapons?" Krickstall asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. "The ship carries enough firepower to sterilize planets, sir. The weapon systems are based on technologies we don't recognize. Our tactical computers cannot predict their capabilities." Captain Jake Morrison's voice joined the communication. "Admiral Krickstall, I believe you wanted to demonstrate why resistance is futile. Allow me to return the favor." The Leviathan's massive hangar bays began to open, revealing rows upon rows of human ships that had been hidden inside. Each vessel was sleek and deadly, equipped with weapons and defensive systems that incorporated technology the aliens had never encountered. "How many ships is it carrying?" Admiral Krickstall asked in a voice barely above a whisper. "Sensors indicate over 10,000 combat vessels of various sizes," the sensor operator reported, "plus support ships, landing craft, and what appear to be mobile construction units." The alien fleet watched in complete shock as thousands of human ships poured from the Leviathan's hangar bays. Each vessel moved with precision and grace, taking up positions around the massive mothership like a swarm of deadly insects protecting their hive. "This is impossible," Captain Vexron said. "The intelligence reports said these humans were primitive. They were supposed to be using chemical rockets and basic electronics." Admiral Krickstall realized that everything the Galactic Council believed about humanity was wrong. These were not primitive creatures waiting to be conquered. They were an advanced civilization that had been deliberately hiding their true capabilities. "Admiral," the communications officer announced, "we're receiving another transmission from the human fleet." Dr. Amy Chun's voice filled the bridge again. "Admiral Krickstall, your fleet is currently outnumbered and outgunned. We have no desire for unnecessary bloodshed. We are prepared to allow you to leave our system peacefully." The alien admiral looked around his bridge at officers who were staring at their displays with expressions of complete disbelief. His fleet of 200 ships, which had seemed so impressive just minutes before, now appeared tiny and insignificant compared to the human force surrounding them. "However," Dr. Chun continued, "if you choose to attack, We will defend ourselves with all necessary force. The choice is yours, Admiral. Fleet Admiral Krickstall had conquered 47 worlds in his career, but he had never faced anything like this. The humans had turned his planned easy victory into a nightmare scenario where his entire fleet was at risk of destruction. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Krickstall was considering the possibility of surrender. The silence that followed Dr. Amy Chun's ultimatum stretched across space like a held breath. Admiral Krickstall stood frozen on his bridge, staring at the impossible sight before him. The Leviathan hung in space above Earth like a dark mountain, surrounded by thousands of human ships that moved with deadly precision. "Admiral," Captain Vexron whispered, "what are your orders?" Krickstall's mind raced through his options. He could order his fleet to attack, but the human ships clearly outgunned his forces by an enormous margin. He could try to retreat, but that would mean admitting defeat to a species the Galactic Council had dismissed as primitive. Either choice would end his career, and possibly his life. "Admiral," the sensor operator called out urgently, "the human ships are taking up attack positions. Their weapon systems are powering up." Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through the communication system, calm but firm. "Admiral Krickstall, you have 60 seconds to make your decision. Power down your weapons and prepare to surrender or face the consequences of your aggression." The alien admiral looked around his bridge at officers who were waiting for orders that could determine whether they lived or died. His fleet was trapped between Earth and the massive human force, with no possibility of escape. "Admiral," his weapons officer reported, "our tactical computers have finished analyzing the human vessels. Sir, their technology is at least 200 years ahead of our own. Our weapons would barely scratch their hulls." Dr. Amy Chun's voice joined the communication. "Admiral, we know you're considering your options. Let me make this simple for you. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated according to the galactic conventions of war. Continue to threaten our world, and we will defend ourselves." Admiral Krickstall realized that his entire understanding of the universe had been wrong. The humans weren't primitive creatures waiting to be conquered. They were an advanced civilization that had been deliberately hiding their capabilities while they prepared for exactly this moment. How did we get this so wrong? He asked himself. But the answer was becoming clear. The humans had wanted to appear weak and helpless. They had carefully managed every piece of information that reached the galaxy, creating a false image of a backward species that posed no threat. "Admiral," Captain Vexron said quietly, "perhaps we should consider the possibility that these humans have been watching us for years. They knew we were coming. The alien fleet had been outmaneuvered before the battle even began. The humans had turned their apparent weakness into their greatest strength, luring the aliens into a trap that was centuries in the making." "Sir," the communications officer announced, "we're receiving messages from our other fleets throughout the galaxy. Word is spreading about what's happening here. The Galactic Council is demanding an immediate report." Admiral Krickstall knew that news of his defeat would reach every corner of the galaxy within hours. The species that the Council had dismissed as primitive had just demonstrated military capabilities that exceeded the most advanced civilizations. "Admiral," Dr. Chun's voice came through the speakers again, "your time is up. What is your decision?" Krickstall looked one more time at the massive human fleet surrounding his ships. His options had been reduced to surrender or destruction, and he was responsible for the lives of over 50,000 crew members across his fleet. "This is Fleet Admiral Krickstall to all ships," he announced on the fleet communication channel. "Power down all weapon systems. Lower shields. Prepare to surrender." The bridge crew stared at him in shock. In the entire history of their species, no fleet had ever surrendered to a supposedly primitive civilization. But they all understood that the alternative was complete annihilation. "Admiral," Captain Vexron asked, "how do we explain this to the Galactic Council?" "We tell them the truth," Krikstal replied. "We tell them that humanity is not the primitive species we thought they were. We tell them that we have seriously underestimated what these humans are capable of." Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through the communication system. "Admiral Krikstal, we acknowledge your surrender. Please have your ships maintain their current positions while we arrange for boarding parties to secure your vessels." Within minutes, human ships began docking with the alien vessels. The alien crews watched in amazement as humans in advanced armor suits boarded their ships with weapons that seemed to bend light itself. The boarding parties were professional and efficient, securing each ship without violence. Dr. Amy Chun appeared. On the main display screen of the Dominator, her image transmitted directly to Admiral Krikstal's bridge. She looked calm and confident, like someone who had been preparing for this moment her entire life. "Admiral," she said, "I want you to understand something important. We didn't build the Leviathan to conquer other worlds. We built it to defend our own. Your species and the Galactic Council made a critical error. You assumed we were weak because we wanted you to think that." Admiral Krikstal found his voice. "How long have you known about us?" "We've been monitoring galactic communications for over 70 years, Dr. Chun replied. "We learned about the Galactic Council, your expansion policies, and your treatment of species you consider primitive. We knew that eventually you would come for Earth." The alien admiral felt a chill run through his scaled skin. "You've been preparing for this moment for 70 years? "Longer than that," Amy continued. "Once we understood how the galaxy operated, we knew we had two choices. We could reveal ourselves as an advanced species and risk being seen as a threat, or we could appear weak while we prepared our defenses. We chose the latter." Captain Jake Morrison joined the conversation from his ship near Luna Base. "Admiral, your species has conquered 47 worlds using the same tactics you tried here. You arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and destroy anyone who resists. We decided that pattern needed to end." The implications of what the humans were saying began to sink in. They had not only prepared for this specific attack, but they had been studying galactic civilization for decades, learning about alien technology and military strategies. "The intelligence reports," Admiral Krikstal said slowly. "Everything we thought we knew about you was deliberately false." "Not false," Dr. Chun corrected. "Carefully managed. We showed you what we wanted you to see. Chemical rockets that we stopped using 30 years ago. Nuclear weapons that we replaced with plasma cannons decades ago. We made sure your scouts only saw our oldest, most primitive technology." General Frank Williams' voice joined the communication from Earth's military command center. "Admiral, while your fleet was traveling here, we were monitoring every communication between your ships. We know your battle plans, your ship capabilities, and your standard procedures. You never had a chance of success." The alien crews throughout the fleet were listening to this conversation with growing amazement. They had been completely outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as primitive. "Cave dwellers. What happens now?" Admiral Krikstal asked. "Now," Dr. Chun replied, "the galaxy learns that humanity is not a primitive species waiting to be conquered. We take our place as equals among the stars, not as slaves or subjects." Captain Jake Morrison moved his ship closer to the alien flagship. "Admiral, you and your crews will be treated well, but you will remain our prisoners until we can establish formal diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. Your ships will be studied so we can better understand galactic technology standards." "The Council will never accept this," Admiral Krikstal protested. "They will send larger fleets. They will bring their full military might against your world." Dr. Amy Chun smiled. "Admiral, The Leviathan is just the first of our new ships. We have the capability to build dozens more like her, each one more advanced than the last. We have been preparing for a galactic war for 70 years. If the Council wants to fight, we're ready. News of the alien fleet's surrender spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On the home worlds of dozens of species, government leaders watched in shock as reports came in about the impossible human victory. The species that had been marked for conquest had instead captured an entire Galactic Council fleet without losing a single ship. High Chancellor Mordon of the Crystalline Hegemony called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered to discuss what this meant for their established order. Fellow council members, the High Chancellor announced, we face an unprecedented situation. The humans have demonstrated military capabilities that exceed our own. They have been deliberately deceiving us about their true technological level for decades. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices as species after species demanded explanations. How had their intelligence been so wrong? How had a supposedly primitive world managed to hide such advanced technology? The humans have issued a statement. The High Chancellor continued. They are requesting formal diplomatic recognition and a seat on the Galactic Council. They have also demanded the immediate cessation of all conquest activities against species they deem insufficiently advanced. To defend themselves,